Good evening, everyone. I'm Jamison Euler.
And I'm Wendy Ryan. Thank you for joining us. New tonight, Gabby Petito's parents are officially filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the Moab Police Department. This is body cam footage at the center of their claims.
It shows Gabby and her fiance, Brian Laundrie, interacting with officers. Police were investigating a fight between the couple just weeks before Gabby's death.
And our Julie Solomon has been following this case from the very beginning. Julie, what do Gabby's parents believe that this footage reveals about the actions of the police department there?
Well, Wendy, the family of Gabby Petito says they want to hold law enforcement accountable. Their attorney said today the officers were not properly trained to recognize the signs of domestic violence and failed to follow state law.
What's going on? How come you're crying?
Body camera footage from August of 2021 shows Moab Police interacting with Gabby Petito and her fiance, Brian Laundrie. The footage is at the center of a lawsuit filed by Petito's parents.
We've been fighting all morning.
The lawsuit alleges officers did not follow Utah state law when it comes to domestic violence, and they mislabeled Gabby as the aggressor when she was the victim.
The signs and symptoms were there when the police interviewed Gabby, but they were not acted upon, even though Utah law required it.
The lawsuit also alleges one of the officers involved in the traffic stop is a domestic abuser himself and has used authority and threats of physical violence to control and intimidate sexual partners, making that officer biased as he handled the investigation involving Brian and Gabby.
The department failed to properly hire and screen applicants for officers.
Ultimately, no charges were filed and officers allowed the couple to separate for the night. Petito's remains were discovered weeks later outside Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. Brian confessed to killing Gabby in a note discovered near his body in a Sarasota County park. The city of Moab sent a statement that reads in part, "The attorneys for the Petito family seem to suggest that somehow our officers could see into the future based on this single interaction. In truth, on August 12th, no one could have predicted this tragedy that would occur weeks later and hundreds of miles away." Gabby's family says officers failed to see their daughter was in a life-threatening situation.
She could have been protected that day. There are laws put in place to protect victims, and those laws were not followed, and we don't want this to happen to anybody else.
The city says its officers acted with kindness, respect, and empathy as they interacted with Gabby. For the city's full statement, visit abcactionnews.com. Live in the studio, Julie Solomon, ABC Action News.
Julie, thank you. Meanwhile, Gabby Petito's tragic death last year shined a new light on domestic violence. Many believe she suffered in silence from verbal, emotional, and physical abuse at the hands of her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. And we showed that video from the Moab Police Department to local advocates who provide help to domestic violence survivors. And recently I spoke to the CEO of the Spring of Tampa Bay about signs victims need to look for in order to stay out of danger. Their CEO says there was a red flag in the way that Gabby described her fight with Laundrie. Take a listen.
She put her hands up at one point like this, and how he had put his hands around her face. You know, that I think was a missed opportunity too, because it would have been a natural segue for the officers to ask, has he ever put his hands around your neck before? Has he ever put his hand over your mouth? Has he ever attempted to restrict your airflow?
Mindy Murphy also added a victim is 7.5 times more likely to be murdered by an abusive partner if he's attempted to strangle or choke her. To see the other red flags the Spring says this video reveals, click on this story on our website at abcactionnews.com. And if you or someone you know is in a domestic violence situation, you can always call the number on your screen at 1-800-500-1119, and you can find more resources on our website.